Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and the markets are exploding, and that goes for everything across the board. We've got XRP, we got Bitcoin. Bitcoin started the thing out and crossed over 20,000. Things are getting interesting, and there's literally so much information that I am having trouble doing just 2 videos a day. I'm going to try to keep it to 2 because this wears me out. I've been doing it a long time, but here we go. Chinu Patel sent me this. CNBC all of a sudden is in the game. All they want to talk about is crypto.
That narrative we've heard before. I want to understand 2 things. One is, what do you think the upside is 12 months out from now?
I think it's very difficult to put a price target on it, but I can certainly say at Grayscale, our flows are now probably up 6x what they were last year. And the types of investors that are putting capital to work are unlike any of the investors we're seeing ever before. It's some of the world's largest investors, and the allocations that they're making are bigger than we've ever seen before. Michael, and their time horizon for this is generally something over the medium to longer term.
We've been right all along, folks, but they finally have all activated. That's what's going on here. And I just wanted to show those of you that haven't been around some of the stuff that we had to deal with for the last 2 to 3 years. I said, what we had to listen to in this long crypto bear market. If it makes sense in your gut, ignore the quote experts. This expert was Nouriel Roubini, and then we had Goldman Sachs saying that cryptocurrencies were going to hit 0, and they were all putting out these articles all of 2018-19 by Bloomberg, who I'm sure if you looked is owned by one of the big boys, because traditional finance is owned by traditional financial media, or traditional financial media is owned by traditional finance. That's how the game is played, folks. But now everybody's activated, and we welcome them to the party, although a lot of what was said over the last 2 years was pretty disingenuous. Not my style, but if they could, as long as they can live with it. Now, and then we have this on CNBC's Fast Money last night. Here they go.
So there's a couple things that are really driving it besides the macro tailwinds, which we just all talked about, but you have a lot of institutional adoption. So you've had, over the last week or so, you've had MassMutual say that they're going to be buying into Bitcoin. You've had corporate treasuries with MicroStrategy and Square buying into Bitcoin. So you kind of have these large, strong-handed buyers coming in. And let's remember, there's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist.
Hey, by the way, if you happen to hear a guitar in the background, that would be my 14-year-old who I told I was coming in here to do this video, and then he thought it would be a great time to pull out the guitar. That's him, if you hear it.
18.5 million Bitcoin currently in circulation. The extra 3.5 million Bitcoin are going to be created over the next 100 years. So the supply is severely constrained in an environment, just like we talked about with the Fed. They're just going to continue to print money. It doesn't matter what the economy does. They're just going to continue to print money. And so investors are saying, well, I can buy gold, which is the traditional one, or I can buy Bitcoin, which is digital gold with a venture capital tech kicker.
Yeah, and some CEOs are saying,
by the way, he's just talking about how the Fed's just going to keep printing money, which they are going to do. Have you ever wondered if they're intentionally sending the economy off a cliff into digital assets? I have. Just a thought.
I'm going to buy Bitcoin instead of having cash on the balance sheet, which is the case in MicroStrategy and their cash reserves when we spoke with Michael Saylor. You might be asking, what about the technicals on this breakout? Well, Carter Braxton Worth at Cornerstone Macro actually sent this chart along, and this is what he wrote. He wrote, this move is, quote unquote, a proper breakout, an old-fashioned textbook breakout. Guy, what do you think?
He's right. I mean, and first of all, and Brian Kelly, talk about somebody that's been early. Usually early in our business is wrong. Early in this case has been spot on. And I think his stewardship throughout this has been fantastic. And I'm not trying to patronize him. I mean that. With that said, Carter happens to be right because we're through those levels we saw. I think it was December of 2017, if memory serves. So if this was just a chart of Caterpillar or John Deere or Microsoft and you broke through that prior all-time high, we'd probably be saying the same thing. Now, I think in terms of Bitcoin, it obviously needs to hold these levels for a while, but you could very well be setting up for the next leg higher for all the reasons that Brian just outlined.
And I think.
All right, I was just going to play you that part. Okay, now I want to show you something, and I want to put a thought in your head. This is an article that came across my phone this morning when I woke up. It says, Bitcoin shortage as Wall Street FOMO turns Bitcoin whales into plankton. Okay? Now, all you've got to see is the title, Bitcoin shortage. Okay? And ask yourself a question in all of the time you've been investing. Are there any investments where there's a shortage? Because those are the real investments, in my opinion. Have you ever heard anybody say there's a shortage of stocks? No. Have you ever heard anyone say that there is a shortage in bonds? Have you ever turned on CNBC and they announced that there's a shortage in bonds? Let me tell you some things that there are a shortage of. There's a shortage of gold. There's a shortage of silver. There's a shortage in paid for, keyword, paid for land. There's a shortage in land, period. But, there was a saying when I was a kid, buy more land, they're not making any more of it. Land is what it is. There's a shortage of it. There will only ever be a certain amount of land. There's a shortage in Bitcoin. There's only 21 million. There's a shortage in XRP. There's only 100 billion. And remember, there's, and the guy from, Pantera Capital, Dan Morehead, said it the other day. He believes that there's only going to be single digit winners in this. In other words, there's only going to be 9 at most, winners in this digital asset space. I've been around, folks, been here since 2013 in this. And I can tell you a lot have come and gone, but there are about 2 or 3 that have stayed right there in the top for the whole time. They are Bitcoin, Litecoin, and I don't even believe in Litecoin. I think that's a joke, but it's been pretty there close to the top. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, and don't count out XLM either. Okay. Those are the ones that have just stayed right up there. Okay. I believe that those are the ones that were co-opted by the powers that be. Okay. Early. All right. Moving along. Let's look at what we've got. Okay. Here's what we've got. We've got a market that is at 648 billion. You realize that we're only really 150 billion or so away from the all-time high coin market cap ever. I believe in this we're going to blow past $1 trillion and never look back. And I've said from the beginning of this channel, it's not going to be $1 trillion. It's not going to be $2 trillion. It's not going to be $10 trillion. It's going to be multi trillions of dollars. Multi trillions, if not quadrillions of dollars in this. Okay. I believe the whole world's financial system is going into this. So we have Bitcoin. I believe it hit as high as 23,000 something. We got XRP up over 24%. See, Bitcoin gets the headlines, but look what's happening with the one. XRP, the greatest digital asset ever created. It's been up 24, probably 25%. But look at this also, because it's worth reminding you. Bitcoin's getting the headlines, but look right here. In the 7-day, Bitcoin and Ethereum are ahead, but look in the 30-day. 88%, XRP up 88%. For the quarter, XRP up 123%. And look, Dan Morehead also said, look, I believe the Ethereum 2.0s and the XRPs will appreciate more than Bitcoin. He did say it, and this guy's a Bitcoin maxi. All right, let's move along. Joker, XRP broke out following Bitcoin and Litecoin. It targets $1 in January 2021, but this is XRP. Maybe it does it in a weekend again. Who knows? I believe that's more like what we're looking at. Okay, and then he comes in and says this. Bitcoin closed daily at 21,300 levels, the highest daily close ever in history. How high can Bitcoin go? There's no record from now on. It's all a guessing game. 30K, 50K, 100K, 200K, 500K, 1 million, all possible, and have the same probability. Cheers to that. And then we've got Stuart XRP sent me this. If I can get it to come up. Here's another clip. This is on Bloomberg TV, who is also activated, and their analysts and everything else, they're also activated in this now too. Here we go.
Of course, we made the decision to start allocating toward Bitcoin when Bitcoin was at 10,000. It's a little more challenging with the current price closer to 20,000. Amazing, over a very short period of time, how big of a run-up we've had. But having said that, our fundamental work shows that Bitcoin should be worth about $400,000.
Whoa.
So, we're going to, even if we had
they're even making predictions
today,
now.
We're going to monitor the market and see how trading goes on valuation, but ultimately look to buy it.
Scott Miner, we want to delay the Fed press conference for this comment by you. How do you frame a 400,000 Bitcoin? How do you get from where we are now out to 400,000? Is it just based on scarcity?
Yeah, right, Tom. It's based on the scarcity and relative valuation, such as things like gold as a percentage of GDP. So, Bitcoin is actually has a lot of the attributes of gold, and at the same time has an unusual value in terms of transactions. Right.
Mike McKee emails me, why are we talking about BitDog while we've got a Fed press conference going on? McKee, jump in here.
They can't stand it, but the truth is right in front of them now. Link2 had tweeted this out today. We're proud to feature Upgrade Credit on our app. Upgrade Credit offers a high-value virtual banking experience and helps others build the future they want. And I wanted to show you this because they have the links here. It's at Link2 Inc., LINQTO Inc., and their website is right here. It's this is linqto.com. Now I have all those links in my description, and I also have a link so you can download their iPhone app or their Android app. I wanted to show you what they have right now. This is Upgrade that they were just talking about. It's the shares of Upgrade. This is private equity, by the way. The shares of Upgrade are at 225. They still have some Ripple. Look at this. They've still got some Ripple shares, and let me see what they have. They've got 12,187 shares at $32 a share, and that's Ripple that's on the platform now. Interesting stuff. But they got a lot of good blockchain-related private equity on the platform. X-Men XRP sent me this. MoneyGram Growth. This is from Julia Chatterley. We played a little bit of it yesterday. This is a better and a more, this is a more of the clip. I'll just play some of it for you. This is the MoneyGram CEO.
MoneyGram is one of the US's leading payment companies. It allows customers in over 200 countries to send and receive money across borders. MoneyGram's business has surged during the pandemic too. The number of cross-border payments in November was more than double the levels seen a year ago, while MoneyGram's digital business has seen 11 months of triple-digit growth. And joining us now, Alex Holmes, Chairman and CEO of MoneyGram International. Alex, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I remember a year ago when we were talking about your three key initiatives. It was digital transformation, it was the work with Visa Direct, and it was what you were doing with Ripple, the payments platform, whose CEO was recently on the show. Talk to me about the digital transformation first, because some of these numbers are eye-opening in terms of growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me back. It's great to be here. It really has been an absolutely remarkable couple of years for MoneyGram, and certainly what we've seen throughout 2020 has been nothing short of remarkable. As you said, the performance of our digital business has been just absolutely amazing. And, even prior to the onset of the pandemic, we were seeing phenomenal returns on that business with increasing customers utilizing our app, increasing downloads, increasing throughput, and expansion, of course, into a number of markets with our online services. But ever since the pandemic has kicked in, we've really seen just complete resilience in that business and a continued acceleration. As you said, 11 consecutive months of triple-digit cross-border growth, 136% in the month of November. And it's really been driven by that utilization and convenience of mobile technology, the simplicity of the throughput, and the ease of which consumers are finding digital applications, particularly during the pandemic when, stay-at-home orders or shelter-in-place orders have really restricted their movement and their ability to get out and do.
All right, I was just going to play you a clip of that. He's obviously faring pretty well. And before I leave this, I wanted to ask the audience here, what in the world is that? It looks like some kind of a bone or something. I was listening to him, and I noticed two things. Did he go to Oklahoma University? Is that what that is? And what is that bone right there? What kind of bone is that? Is anybody out there tell me what that bone is? I'm just curious. And then Brad Garlinghouse retweeted this interview, and he says, amazed that it's already been a year and a half of our partnership with Alex, I believe it's Alex Holmes. He was on stage at Swell 2019 in Singapore. Ripple and MGI have settled billions of dollars globally using XRP in production. It's quite simply the most efficient digital asset for payment, speed, scalability, and low transaction cost, all the things that Bitcoin does not have. XRP Bart sent me this. IMF, the currencies central banks hold as foreign exchange reserves have remained largely steady over decades, but geopolitical shifts, technological revolutions, and the fallout from COVID-19 could accelerate transformations in their reserve holdings. Man, this is kind of weird against the backdrop of Miguel Valles saying that XRP would be a world reserve digital currency. It's just strange. The timing of all this is so weird. Crypto Dim sent me this. Just in, Germany legalizes electronic securities on the blockchain. What a coincidence. Everything seems to be happening at once. And then there's this. Keep your eyes on the prize from Real XRP Boy. This guy right here is Augustin Carstens, I think I said that right, of the BIS, Bank for International Settlements. Listen up.
But then, Augustine, are there any problems related to payment that central banks cannot solve? And if that is the case, what is the role of private digital currencies?
Yes, I mean, I think there is huge territory that central banks do not cover. I mean, as a matter of fact, if you see what the landscape we have today, we just take care of payments among big players, and that's to the wholesale spectrum. And then we take care of payments at the more atomized level through currencies, through bills and cash and bills. In between, there is huge space to innovate and huge space to provide solutions. And there is where the role for innovation in payments is essential. In filling all the gaps that are in between those two pillars, I would say, that are the contribution that central banks do today, there might be some space for privately issued currencies. At the end of the day, my thinking is that it would be more than anything as a part of the utility to provide payment systems that at the end of the day end up settled in central bank money.
Huh. Interesting. Well, just as a little reminder, those of you that weren't around, back in 2019, I believe, this is a Swiss conference where Brad Garlinghouse is on stage here. He's the CEO of a fintech startup. And then the rest of these guys, everybody else in the room pretty much is central bankers and bankers. You see Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, Director Monetary Markets, IMF. And who's sitting right here? That would be this guy. Okay? Just wanted to make you aware of that. Hey, Oseko Carmona sent me this. This is interesting. David Liu. It now costs $11.62 to open a new XRP account. What he's referring to there is that if you have an XRP account, there's a 20 XRP reserve requirement. So 20 times the price of XRP, and it costs $11.62 to open up a new XRP account. He makes a pretty interesting point. Then, Hey Oseko Carmona sent me this. David Schwartz was on Twitter let's see, in the middle of the night, just finished fixing some issues, combining major XRPL performance optimizations from various people and making sure everything is working smoothly together. Early results are incredibly encouraging. I have to test where I shut down a server, wait 60 seconds, restart it. Anyway, he's going through some of his technical stuff that he does to work on, I guess, the ledger. Interesting stuff. Of course, he's always speaking Greek to me because that's not my bag. Riz XRP sent me this. Now, this is interesting too. Do you remember a few weeks ago when there was a few of them, Coinbase CEO and Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of Circle, which is backed by Goldman Sachs, and Brad Garlinghouse, I believe, had commented on it. There was a rumor, according to the CEO of Coinbase, that the Treasury Secretary was going to pass some regulations that basically made you have to identify people, like if they held something like a hard wallet, like a Ledger NOS, had to identify them before letting them put their digital assets onto, say, a Coinbase platform or to take it off. And these guys are up in arms over it, and he talks about it right here.
Let's just talk about the G7 right now, have made an agreement to lock down how people can interact with self-custodied and unhosted wallets and DeFi. They've made a decision that they want to lock it down, and they're rolling that out as we speak. And I think that is a very major issue for the industry. It affects Bitcoin. It affects every crypto asset. It affects every token on every exchange, every token on every DeFi exchange, and it affects USDC as well. And so industry needs to mount a fight on that right now, because I think as the Secretary of Treasury leaves office, he's going to try and punch the crypto industry in the face. And I think that this is going to require a lot of mobilization, because I think that the rule sets are completely unreasonable that we're likely to see, and likely will end up in litigation with the U.S. government.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So I think that what he's talking about there has to do with hard wallets. Now, Michelle Vandenberg sent me an interesting thing. You might remember yesterday I showed you this. IBM building 459 degree Fahrenheit fridge to house the world's largest quantum computer. Now, and then I showed you this article as well, which was a blog entry from this guy. And he says in this blog entry, Starlink is the perfect, once you read, you will be able to connect the dots that Starlink is the perfect cover for launching of a technology that was not supposed to be active for another 10 years. Exciting. Okay. So here's what's interesting. So IBM, you get an article that IBM is building a 459 Fahrenheit fridge. Well, Michelle Vandenberg sent me this. It's an article from February of 2020. How cold is it in outer space? Well, it just so happens that in outer space, it's about minus 455 degrees Fahrenheit. And they're building a fridge minus 459 degrees Fahrenheit. There are no coincidences, folks. The plan all along, $1 to a donut, the plan all along has been to, when they get the quantum computers actually done, is to have them on satellites, so that it will be cold enough for a quantum computer to operate. And I have very little knowledge of how quantum computing works, but I can put together some common sense things, and there's a flashing light right there. I believe that Elon Musk and Starlink's satellites are all, we know they're about 5G, but I think they're about quantum computers, and I also think they're about nodes on these satellites, and I think it always has been. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I have to take my kid to school. Thank you for listening.